We're going to be talking about division, and on these division problems, or some of the division problems, are going to have a remainder. So before we even start doing our division problems, we want to go ahead and write our steps down so we don't miss a step. Okay, and the steps that we use are does, McDonald's, sell, cheese, burgers. And that's divide, multiply, subtract, compare, and bring down. So the first step that we do is we're going to divide. So I'm going to put a little mark here. And I notice there's 2 digits in the dividend right there, so that means I'm going to go through all my steps twice. So the first step is to divide. Okay, on the first one, I'm going to see how many times 2 will go into 9. Okay, I know 2 times 4 is 8. So yeah, I don't think 2 will go in any more times. It already gives us the answer right there. The answer is 4. So 2 goes into 9 4 times. Okay, the next step is to multiply. Okay, we're going to multiply the answer from our last step, which is 4, by the divisor, 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, the next step is subtract. Okay, the next step is subtract. And you're going to subtract 8 from 9, and that gives you 1. Okay, the next step is compare. Okay, I'm going to compare my 1 to my divisor. As long as the difference I get right here is less than my divisor, that means I'm good. I can move on to the next step. The next step is to bring down. I'm going to bring down the 4, and it's already down there for us. Okay, and now we've got to go through the steps again. Okay, the next step I'm going to do is to divide. Okay, I'm going to see how many times 2 goes into 14. Okay, I know 2 times 7 is 14, so 2 will go into 14 7 times. The next step is to multiply. Okay, I'm going to multiply the answer for my last step, which was 7 times 2, and that gives me 14. Okay, the next step is to subtract. Okay, I'm going to subtract 14 from 14, and I get 0. The next step is to compare. Make sure 0 is less than my divisor, and it is. And the next step is to bring down. Since I don't have anything to bring down, that means I'm done. So 94 divided by 2 equals 47. But our last check that we always do on our division problems is we do our multiplication. We multiply to check. And we multiply our quotient by our divisor. So 47 times 2. 2 times 7 is 14. And 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And if we get our dividend right there, that means we've done it right. And we did, so we got it right. Let's go ahead and look over our next problem. Problem number 2. And let's go ahead and we'll use the same. We still have two digits in our dividend, so we're going to go ahead and we have to go through all the steps twice. Okay, so the first step we're going to do is to divide. Okay, how many times will 5 go into 8? I know 5 will go into it 1 time. Twice would be too many because that would be 10. So 5 goes into 8 1 time. Okay, that's my divide step. I'll put a mark here. Okay, the next step is to multiply. I'm going to multiply next. Okay, I multiply 1 times 5, and that's 5. I already have my answer right there. The next step is subtract. I'm going to subtract 5 from 8, and that gives me 3. Okay, my next step is compare. Okay, make sure the difference that I got when I subtracted is less than my divisor, and it is, so I'm good. My next step is to bring down. I'm going to bring down the 2. Okay, got to start over again. We start over again. We're going to divide again. Okay, we're going to see how many times 5 goes into 32. I know 5 times 6, and I already got the answer right there, is 32. The next step is to multiply. I'm going to multiply 6 times 5, and that gives me 30. Okay, my next step is to subtract. 30 from 32 is 2. Okay, my next step is to compare. Okay, I compare and make sure my difference right there is less than my divisor, and it is. And my next step is to bring down. And since I don't have anything else to bring down, that means I'm done. And this number down here becomes my remainder. That's what's left over after I divided 82 divided by 5. The answer is 16, remainder 2. Okay, we're going to have to check this. And we check these just a little bit different. We do it the same way we do the ones without the remainder, except we have to add the remainder when we're done. So let me go ahead. I think I got room to multiply it right there, and I'll show you the steps for it. So we're going to go ahead and multiply the quotient by the divisor, which is 16 times 5. Okay, 5 times 6 is 30, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 would be 8. And I have my 2 right here. I need to add that to my product there. And 80 plus 2 is 82. And that should give us our dividend, which is 82. So we done it right. Okay, number 3. Okay, it says, okay, how would you estimate the answer in exercise 1? Okay, and on this one, on problem number 1 right here, we're going to go into estimate. And we're going to estimate it the same way we would have on some of our previous lessons. And it goes, we'll do 92 divided by 2. Okay, and when we do that, what we want to do is, since we're just doing an estimate, I'm going to go ahead and underline the 9. And how many times will 2 go into 9? Okay, and it'll go really close. It goes almost 5 times. It goes almost 5 times, and I have one more place value there. So I'm going to add that. So it goes into it about 50 times, and that's how we would estimate the answer. Or we would either round this. 92 is very close to 100. And 100 divided by 2 we know is 50, because half of $1 is 50 cents. Okay, let's go ahead and look at problem number 4. Al has 5 cans of fruit. He puts the same number of fruit cans in 4 boxes. Will he have any cans left over? If so, how many cans? Okay, we want to box this in part right here. And right there it says, will he have any cans left over? If so, how many cans? I have 2 questions there, so I'm going to have to answer both those questions. Okay, I've got 85. I circle 85. I circle 4. The 85 is referring to cans. The 4 is representing boxes. Now I can tell there's a total of 85 cans. I'm going to separate them evenly amongst 4 boxes. Okay. The first thing I want to make sure I can answer the first question, will he have any cans left over? That's going to be a yes or no question. And if so, how many cans? And I'm already kind of thinking in my head that I'm going to do a division problem, and whatever the remainder is going to be how many cans that are left over. So I'm going to go to another page so I have room to work this out. That's 85 divided by 4. So I'm going to go over here. 85 divided by 4. As you see, when I write my problems on my line paper, I turn my line paper sideways, and I put a digit in between each line. And that just helps me line up, keep my place value lined up. So the first step, I'm going to divide. Okay, how many times will 4 go into 8? Okay, I look at my multiplication chart right here. I follow it over. It goes into it twice. So 4 goes into 8 twice. The next step is to multiply. I'm going to multiply the answer from my last step, which is 2, times my divisor is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. My next step is subtract. I'm going to subtract the answer from my last step when I multiplied, which was 8, from the first digit in the dividend, and I get 0. My next step is to compare. Make sure I compare and make sure my difference is less than my divisor, and it is. So I'm going to my next step, which is bring down. I'm going to bring down the 5. Okay, so I start all over again. Use the answer from my last step, which is 5, and divide it with the divisor. How many times does 4 go into 5? Go to my multiplication chart. I follow it over, 8's too big, so I have to bring it back to the 4. So 4 goes into 5 one time. My next step is to multiply. Use the answer from my last step, which is 1. I'm going to multiply it by the divisor. 1 times 4 is 4. My next step is subtract. 4 from 5 is 1. My next step is compare. 1 is less than my divisor, so I'm good. My next step is to bring down. I do not have anything else to bring down, so that means I'm done with the problem. And this becomes my remainder, remainder 1. So that means when I separate the 85 cans out and put them into 4 boxes, I'm going to have I'm going to make 21 boxes. It's going to make 21 boxes, and I'm going to have one can left over. But like I said before, we're going to check it, make sure we've done it right. So I'm going to multiply my quotient by my divisor. 21 times 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Then I have 1 left over, so I need to add that. And 84 plus 1 is 85. And that matches my dividend, so I'm good. So that means I can go back to my page over here and we can answer this question. And will he have enough will he have any cans left over? And the answer is yes, he does. He has 1 can left over. 1 can left over. Okay. I'm going to go through and do all the even problems, and you'll go back and do the odd problems. Okay, my first problem right there. It shows it's going to, you can see right there it's going to have a remainder. We'll go ahead and go through our steps. We'll write them down here. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? And that's divide, multiply, subtract, compare, and bring down. So, first step, divide. How many times is 6 going to 8? I already have the answer is 1. Okay, the next step is to multiply. 1 times 6 is 6. Okay, my next step is to subtract. Subtract 6 from 8, and that's 2. The next step is compare. 2 is less than 6, so I'm good. The next step is to bring down, and I'm going to bring down a 0. Okay, the next step, I'm starting over again. The answer for my last step is 20, and I'm going to divide that by 6. How many times does 6 go into 20? I know 3 times 6 is 18. That's really close. Let's try that. So 3 times. So next step is to multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. Okay, the next step is subtract. I'm going to subtract 18 from 20, and that is 2. Okay, the next step is compare. I'm going to compare my difference from my divisor, and it's 2. And that means we done right. If I would have got a number that's larger than 6 when I subtracted, that means we'd done something wrong there when we estimated estimated how many times 6 would go into 20. And the last step is to bring down. I do not have anything else to bring down, so that means we're done. The 2 right down here becomes our remainder, so 13 remainder 2. We're going to go over here and check it. 13 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, and then I have a remainder 2, so I'm going to add 2. Okay, and 78 plus 2 is 80. And that matches my dividend, so that means we've done it right. Let's go over here to problem number 8. Okay, remember, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? First step is to divide. How many times does 4 go into 9? I know 4 goes into 9 twice. Okay, the next step is to multiply. 2 times 4 is 8. I already have the answer written in there for me. The next step is subtract. 8 from 9 is 1. The next step is compare. I'm comparing to make sure the difference that I had right there is less than my divisor, and it is. Okay, the next step is to bring down, and bring down to 3. Okay, I start over again. I went through all the steps once. I got 2 digits in my dividend. That means I'm going to go through my steps twice. So the next step is divide. How many times does 4 go into 13? How many times does 4 go into 13? Okay, and I know 4 times 3 is 12. That's really close, so I'm going to say 3 times. So 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, my next step is to, I already did my next step, multiply. Next step is to subtract. Okay, I'm going to subtract 12 from 13. I already got the answer right there, and it is 1. I'm going to compare my 1 to my 4. My 1 is less than 4, so I'm good. Bring down, I do not have anything bring down, so the 1 right there is my remainder. We're going to go check now. 23 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Okay, and a remainder of 1, so we're going to add the 1 to it. That's 93. Oh, went too high there, and it matches my dividends, so we're good. Okay, problem number 10. Problem number 10. Since I'm running out of space there a little bit, I'll go over to my other page, and that's 88 divided by 7. 88 divided by 7. So I'll go back over to my other page, and I'll erase. Okay, 88 divided by 7. 88 divided by 7. Okay, I got my multiplication chart over here, so it's going to be a little bit easier. I don't have to do quite as much estimating. Get actual answers. So my first step is to divide. I'm going to see how many times 7 goes into 8. I find 7 on my multiplication chart. I follow it over. 7's really close. 14's too big. I can't go over it, so it's going to go into it one time. My next step is to multiply. 1 times 7 is 7. My next step is subtract. 7 minus 8 is 1. Next step is compare. 1 is less than 7, so I'm good. And next step is to bring down. Bring down the 8, get 18. We use 18 in my next step, which is divide. 7 goes into 18. Let's take a look. Go to my multiplication chart. Follow it over, follow it over. Get 14. 21's too big, so we're going to say it goes into it twice. Goes into it 2 times. Okay, next step is to multiply. I multiply the answer in my last step, which is 2, by the divisor, 7, and that's 14. My next step is subtract. 4 from 8 is 4, and 1 from 1 is 0. My next step is compare. Can I compare my difference and make sure it's not the same or greater than my divisor? Okay, next step is to bring down. I do not have anything else to bring down, so that means have a remainder of 4. Okay, we'll check it to see if we're right. So I've got 12 times 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. Then we have to add our 4 from our remainder right here. 4 plus 4 is 8, and 8. That makes that 88. And that matches our dividends, so that means we got it right. Okay, so our answer is 12, remainder 4. We'll go ahead and record that back here on our worksheet. 12, remainder 4. Okay, problem number 12. 52 divided by 4. We'll go back over to our other sheet. 52 divided by 4. (52) divided by 4. Okay. There's the multiplication chart there too. So, first step is to divide. Okay, how many times is 5 going to 4? Look at my multiplication chart. I follow it over. 8's too big. That means it goes into it 1 time. Okay, my next step is to multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. Next step is subtract. 4 from 5 is 1. Next step is compare. Make sure my difference is less than my divisor. It's good. Go to my next step, which is bring down. So I get 12 now. I'm starting over. I'm going to use 12. I'm going to divide that by 4. Okay, 4 goes into 12. Let's take a look. Follow it over. Goes into it exactly 3 times. Okay, my next step is to multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. Remember, when you multiply, the answer goes on the bottom. When you divide, the answer goes on top. Next step, subtract. 12 from 12 is 0. Next step is compare. 0 is less than 4. Next step is bring down. I don't have anything else to bring down, so that means my answer to 52 divided by 4 is 13. We'll check it to make sure we're right. 13 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That matches that, so we did it right. Okay, let's go ahead. So our answer is 13. Go back to the worksheet. And 13 is our answer. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the back page. We're doing the even problems. A real quick look at problem number 13. Okay, problem number 14. Okay, why does 51 divided by 4 have 2 digits in the quotient? Well, 51 divided by 6 only has 1 digit in the quotient. Okay, we're not going to work both those problems out, but I'll show you really quick. Okay, on the first step, okay, when we do the first step, when we divide, okay, on this problem right here, we're going to see how many times 4 goes into 5. And 4 does go into 5, so I'm going to have a digit right there. I'll have a digit in that place value, and it'll end up having that'll be in the tens place, and I'll have another digit in the ones place. But when we look at this problem over here, we're going to see how many times 6 goes into 5. Okay, 6 does not go into 5, so that's going to be 0 times. So there's going to be a 0 in the tens place in our quotient, and that's why there's only 1 digit in 51 divided by 6, and there's 2 digits in 51 divided by 4. Okay, problem number 16. Wendy wants to share 37 pencils equally with 9 people. Explain how to find how many pencils she will have left over. So I'm going to box in the question right there. And explain how to find out how many pencils she will have left over. And we're obviously going to divide on this one, but 37 pencils between 9 people. Okay, and that's pencils and people. Okay, it's a division problem. Okay, but we want to make sure we actually answer the question. It's not asking how many pencils each person's going to get. It's asking how many pencils will be left over. So that's probably going to be the remainder to our answer. But we'll go ahead and work it out. 37 divided by 9. I might be wrong. There might not be anything left over. But we'll take a look at it and go over to 37 divided by 9. (37) divided by 9. Okay, my first step is to divide. How many times does 9 go into 3? Look at the multiplication chart down here. That's too big. Goes into 0 times. Okay, the next step is to multiply. 9 times 0 is 0. Next step is subtract. And I get 3. Next step is compare. 3 is less than 9. Next step is to bring down. 7. Okay, how many times will 9 go into 37? Go to my multiplication chart. I follow it over. Yep, that's really close. 45, I know is going to be too big. So that's 4 times. 4 times 9 is 36. I subtract, I get 1. Okay, and I got ahead of myself. I multiplied and subtracted. Next step is compare. Compare 1 to 9, and 1 is less than 9, so I'm good. Next step is bring down. And when I bring down, I don't have anything else to bring down, so that means I'm done. That's a remainder of 4. Or I'm sorry, remainder of 1. So each person is going to get 4 pencils. And there's going to be 1 left over. Okay, but I'll double check it. I'm going to multiply 4 times 9. And 4 times 9 is 36. Plus 1 is 37. Okay, and that's one really you could do just by looking at the multiplication chart, but I still want to go through all the steps because we're not really super familiar with the long division yet. So our answer to that means there's going to be 1 pencil left over. So we'll go back to our worksheet, and it's 1 pencil. 1 pencil left over. Okay, and problem number 18, the last problem we're going to do. Every year, the city of San Marcos holds a Cinco de Mayo festival. If 60 students perform in 5 equal groups, how many students are in each group? Okay, so we'll go back there. We'll go ahead and just work this out on our separate sheet of paper over there. And you could probably even do this one in your head, but we'll go ahead and work it out. So it's 60 divided by 5. divided by 5. Okay, first step is to divide. Okay, how many times will 5 go into 6? Look at my multiplication chart. And that is 1 time. I multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. I subtract. 5 from 6 is 1. I compare. My 1 is less than my 5, so I'm good. I'm going to bring down my 0. Start over again. I have 10 down here. I'm going to divide that by my divisor. 5 goes into 10. We'll check. 5 goes into 10 exactly twice. So that's twice. My next step is to multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. My next step is subtract. 10 from 10 is 0. Then I compare. 0 is less than 5. I bring down. I don't have anything else to bring down. So 60 divided by 5 is 12. Don't really need to check that because, well, if I have my multiplication chart going out, and I know my 12s, 12 times 5 is 60. So that means there's going to be 12 students in each group. So we'll go back to our worksheet there. And that's an answer choice, so we're good to go. The answer is 12.